Hi guys, I hope you're all well. Welcome to my Inktober 2024 sketchbook tour. For this 1 month long art challenge, I used my A5 Hahnemühle watercolor book. I think the paper weight is 200 GSM. And then for the first spread, I've logged in my Etcher watercolor set, which is what I used. I know, strictly speaking, Inktober is meant to just use ink. However, I did my own personal take on it. I used the prompt from the official prompt list, but I used ink and watercolor. So for the first spread, we've got backpack, discover, and boots. I decided not to to try to keep things a bit simple and do small sketches, so multiple sketches in a page, and make some sort of kind of like a story, make it look a little bit cohesive, make the colors match a little bit. So backpack and discover have a similar color. For discover, I instantly thought of a looking glass or a magnifying glass. And with that, the boots I felt suitable for the spread were like hiking boots rather than cowboy boots or fashion boots with heels, and then a bit of typography to fill up the white space, make it look a bit more interesting. So that's my first spread. Then moving on, we've got day 4, which was exotic, and day 5, which is binoculars. Although I do the prompts in order, I don't necessarily put them in order on the page. I'm working on improving my composition. So I felt that exotic, these dragon fruits look nicer on the right hand side. So I did it there, and then I did the binoculars on the left hand side. When I thought of exotic, I instantly thought of exotic animals or exotic birds or exotic fruit. That was the line of thought I was going in. But for the sake of simplicity, I decided to go down the fruit avenue simply because animals are just a little bit difficult to draw. So I Googled exotic fruit and I found fruit that I never even knew existed. And in the end, I went with dragon fruit because of the beautiful magenta color and contrast with this lime green. I try not to be too negative about my work, but of course we can always learn from what went well and what hasn't went well. So I wasn't too keen about how the dragon fruit looks cut in half. I feel like I could definitely have put more detail in it, but you live and you learn. Try not to be too precious about it. And then binoculars, to make up for it, this went better than I thought it would. It's interesting because it's what you don't expect. The prompts that I think are going to go well or I'm excited to do, they don't necessarily do well. So this was an unexpected surprise. Despite the fact that it's just a black binoculars, I feel like the shadow and highlights make it pop. And I like the shadow work on the binoculars compared to my shadows elsewhere. So you can see underneath the mat of my fruit and the shadows here as well. They don't pop as much as they do on the binoculars. Then here I crammed quite a few prompts into one page. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 prompts. We've got the passport. If you look at the unicorn and the lion on the emblem, they look terrifying, but from far away, it does the job. It looks okay. I never realized how detailed it was until I had to sketch it out. For trek and hike, initially I thought they were pretty much the same thing, but I had a look into it. And trek is usually kind of like an expedition you do over a number of days. It's done in a much more remote area. Whereas hike you can do in a day, it usually lasts only a few hours and there's usually a marked trail. So with that information that I got, for trek, I decided to do a remote snowy landscape with some jagged mountains and some people in the distance, so then I don't have to draw them in detail. And then for hike, I did like a foresty woods with a pathway. And then for sun, I decided to change things up a bit. Rather than drawing a sun, which I didn't fancy, I decided to draw Sunny D, which is a drink from my childhood. And on the label, it's got like the sun there. You can see some sun rays. And then for nomadic, I did a little tent in a rural landscape. I wasn't really feeling that sketch. as opposed to my first sketch, which was Trek. I put a lot more effort, and then you can see by the last prompt of this page, I just started slacking. I didn't necessarily do one prompt a day. I did as and when. So some days I would do one, some days I would do none, some days I would do quite a few. So I tried not to put too much pressure on myself and just focused on getting it done slowly but surely. Then on the next spread, we've got a few green looking landscapes and then a nice pop of red. I quite like the composition of this page. I liked how, we've got three different landscapes, but they're matching, and then the text throughout the page and the lovely chocolate Maltesers as well. So the first one is remote. I did a little cottage. Then we've got my Maltesers, which I drew from real life observation. It's always nice doing from real life observation as opposed to a reference photo that doesn't really mean much to you. And going forward, I would like to sketch more of my day so I can capture my memories. It's something that I've been saying for a while, but I don't do as much, so I will definitely try to do that more. On this spread, I used my professional artist grade paints for the first time. I tried it out, and I don't know if this is a placebo effect, but I feel like I can see a bit of a difference compared to the other pages. I got a Daniel Smith essential watercolor set, which comes with just the primary colors. So these greens are actually mixed from yellow and blue. This was the horizon. I did a little sunrise with a lovely tree in front with lots of texture from the ink work, and then a small house perched on the hill. For Rome, this is supposed to be cows. The back one looks like a horse, so we'll just say it's a horse roaming around. This spread is probably my least favorite. I honestly just tried to bung a bunch of prompts. I did this all in one day, I think, just because I was running so far behind. This is probably my least favorite. As you can see, I've written it down as well. But like I said, it's fine. Just give it a go. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. There's still something I'm sure we can all learn and take away from it. So for this page, we've got guidebook, grunge, what is it? Journal, drive, uncharted, and ridge. So I've noticed that guidebook, journal, and passport, which came earlier, they're quite similar. They're all some sort of book. So to keep mix it up a little bit, I decided to do a stack of books for guidebook, an open page for journal, and then a closed book for passport. So although, as I'm sure many of us feel that the prompts were quite similar, they were quite repetitive, it's nice in a way because you have to get a little bit creative. So this was my open book, stack of books, and closed books. For grunge, I initially thought of boots, but we had already done boots, I think, for the third prompt. I thought of leather boots, then I thought of a leather jacket, but then I thought that would be a little bit complicated to sketch, so then I kept it simple, found a piece of jewelry, I found a pair of earrings on Google that I felt were grungy enough, so I sketched that out. And it's just using one color, Payne's Gray. Looking at this spread right now, I could definitely work more on the contrast. I feel like everything looks a little bit flat and 2D. For this one, I got really lazy and combined two prompts into one scene. So this was Drive and Uncharted. So I did a car for Drive. And then because I really couldn't be bothered to draw a whole little scene for Uncharted, I just decided to put a signpost saying, "Caution, uncharted territory, stay back." And, whatever gets it done, gets it done. So, and also because of the laziness, I also didn't put a proper journal entry. I just put some squiggles on a page. So that was a lot more detailed in the passport. And then here I just started slacking. And then this was supposed to be ridge. I had an image, I had a Google image, and I had it in my head how it was supposed to look like as a sketch, and it just didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But yeah, this is supposed to be like the dark part, the back, and then it's supposed to curve around. and this was the ridge, and it's lighter in front. I tried to focus on the pen work. Didn't work out, but it's okay. This one was a rhino. I thought this was such a random prompt to put in. The rest of the spread is random things like my swatches of my artist grade paint. This was my Daniel Smith set, and then I added some earthy colours from Winsor and Newton and a sap green for convenience. I swatched out the sap green as well. It's a nice lush green tone that looks fairly natural. But anyway, back to Inktober 2024. This was the rhino. I actually pretty much copied it from an artist called Becca Hill Illustration on Instagram. She draws lots of cute animals. She does lots of things, but also is known for her cute animals on Instagram. And sometimes I do copy other artists' work. Of course, I don't take credit for it, but I find that it's a nice way to practice different art styles. You get your hand, you just get a hand of it. And then after I've done that, I try to incorporate that style into my own personal sketches. So it's a nice way to learn. I didn't expect this to go well, but again, this is probably one of my favorites. Like I said, it's the ones that you least expect. I didn't like drawing animals, but it's not too bad. He's kind of cute. And then I drew some chips and cookies for practice. These were from observation. And even when they don't turn out nice, when you do it from real life observation, it always means a little bit more to you because I remember that cookie. I remember eating it. And yeah, it just makes it a little bit more special. Then we've got my safari-esque spread. We've got rust. I know it doesn't look rusty. And then we've got camp. So I did a safari camp, a little lodge type thing. And then for expedition, I did a game drive. Car isn't in perspective, but I feel like as long as you understand what's going on in the picture, it's a success. So yeah, as I said, it doesn't look rusty. It looks like a brown oil lamp. It was supposed to be a black oil lamp with rust. If the prompt had just been oil lamp, I would have been chuffed with how it came out. Then for camp, I decided to just expand the scene a little bit with this lovely tree in the front. And then for expedition, again, I did a similar kind of tree from a different angle and perspective. This is supposed to be a lion. And then I like the warm sunny glow in the landscape as well. And then again, another spread bunging in lots of prompts. So I did all the last prompts into this spread. We've got the scarecrow. Then we've got a compass for navigator. We've got violin. Like I said, I kept it simple. So if the prompt is violin, I'm going to sketch a violin. If the prompt is a camera, I'm going to sketch a camera. I actually liked how that turned out. And then here we've got landmark. I did the Dubai skyline. Then the Emirates 380 for the jumbo. And then a runway for the road. I try to keep it like the last page. It's got all like a little story because it's the airport, it's the Emirates plane, which is the carrier for Dubai, and then the Dubai skyline. I like how the compass, the cornfield, and the violin have a similar color scheme going on. For navigator, I thought of potentially like a sat nav, a map, or a compass, but then I felt that the compass would go nicely with the spread. And then the camera, I really like how it turned out, even though it's just it was using one shade of watercolor, which was Payne's Grey. Of course, the ink, then the Payne's Grey, but I like the values, how I use some light, some dark. It really made it pop. And then my white Posca marker for highlights. Then we've got lots of grey in these. We've got the runway. The runway technically is a road. Then the beautiful Emirates A380 for jumbo. And then the Dubai skyline. The Burj Khalifa being the main landmark. So yeah, it went nicely together. I'm happy with how the spread turned out. So, all in all, it was a good challenge. I did have to really push myself sometimes. I found that on some days I really was motivated to sketch certain things, but like more from my everyday life. But then I was like, no, I have to do my Inktober prompt. So, in that sense, it was a little bit annoying, but I'm glad I pushed through. Like I said, it made me sketch things I never would have. It's given me a little bit more confidence, and hopefully, I can incorporate this habit and just keep it up a little bit more consistently and improve with time. So, I did enjoy it doing this year, and maybe I will take part in it next year as well. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and I will speak to you again very soon.